Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be going over almost every single tag team art. I did leave some of them out, and so let me know down in the comments if I missed anything that was super big, but I kind of want to go from the cheapest end of tag team arts all the way to the most expensive and most coveted tag team arts, and we can kind of look in between to see what are some good ones to pick up right now. What is the general price movement on these? It looks like a lot of these have been moving up recently, starting with Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff GX. I think this is a fun card, but not anything crazy. Looks like it has been kind of spiking the last few days, although everything in the market has been doing this, so I'm sure we'll see this trend a lot. It's an alright card. Next you have Machamp and Marshadow. I think this is actually a pretty fun one. It looks like they're doing the Ora, from JoJo's. Only a $20 card, $30 near mint. Not bad, but not my favorite overall. Pretty decent. Next we have the Raichu and Alolan Raichu GX. I think this is okay. Not really my favorite. I think there are some better arts featuring these two. And these are kind of the, I'm not sure what you would call them. I guess these are the half arts almost, compared to the full art or alternate arts that the tag teams are kind of known for. But this is still decent. Lucario and Meltan, again, kind of similar vibes. Nothing too crazy, but I think Lucario is a pretty popular Pokemon. I definitely can't say the same for Meltan. I think that's like a Pokemon Go exclusive Pokemon that they made, so it's not a very popular Mon. Dusknoir and Trevenant. This is actually one of the cooler ones, I think, but again, not a very popular one, and it was a promo, so was pretty plentiful when it came out. Very, very cheap in that sense. Next, we have ADP. Now, this one I think is actually pretty sick. I always wondered though why in these arts they made Arceus green. I mean, I guess it makes sense if you have blue, pink, and then green. It kind of fits the color scheme. But yeah, it's interesting. But in any case, this is a pretty popular card. If this is the one I would actually pick up from the ones we've seen for $50. Getting the ADP altogether. These is like a very iconic trio, the Creation Trio. Not a bad card at all, and I think it's a cool pickup from Cosmic Eclipse, which is only getting more and more expensive as time goes on. Next, we have Charizard and Braixen. This is a pretty fun card, but I think there are better cards featuring these two going into the future. Again, Cosmic Eclipse. Next, we have Espeon and Deoxys from Unified Minds. Now, the really cool alternate art of this is much more expensive, and it is a promo. While this one is decent and it's cool, again, not really the best artwork here. Although, again, not bad. Arita, I believe it did the artwork for this, which is pretty cool. And next we have Zekrom and Pikachu. This one I think is actually pretty cool. Even though it's just kind of a half art, I love the pose that Pikachu is in with Zekrom in the background. And while it did kind of jump up in May, it looks like the price has been consolidating for a while. So I think if you want to pick it up at any point, now is probably the best time. Next you have Garchomp and Giratina. This one I think is actually one of my favorite and most underrated picks. Again, kind of jumped up alongside a lot of the other cards recently with like in May and June when the Pokemon hobby got really crazy, starting in like November, December. And it's been consolidating for a while right now. So again, if you want to pick it up, I think now is a good idea, but I think there are some better Garchomp and Giratina cards in the future. Next, we have Solgaleo and Lunala featuring Lily. Obviously, Lily's a very, very popular character, not Pokemon, from Sun and Moon. I think she's popular because of her character design, or she's just popular because of the story in general. She's a lot more prominent in Sun and Moon's story if you've played the games, in comparison to a lot of other trainers, right? Like she's holding Nebby and stuff. I do kind of wish we saw Nebby somewhere in the background. That would be kind of cute, but regardless, this is a very cool tag team, and you can see it's been steadily rising for a very long time now, for almost a year. And the bigger full art featuring all three of them, Solgaleo and Lunala, is a lot more expensive. So this is still a pretty good art, honestly, for what it is. So you have Mega Sableye and Tyranitar. I think this might be a good time to pick it up, actually. So as you can see, it's been consolidating for the last few months. And as you know, with Legends EA, we're going to be getting more Mega cards, right? Mega Sableye, probably going to be making a return. I don't know if Sableye is the most popular Pokemon, but I know Tyranitar is very popular. The art looks pretty good. This is from Unified Minds, and it's a pretty fun-looking card. I've seen it in person. It looks very nice. Would definitely pick this up if you're interested in the card now before Mega Sableye kind of gets a re-return and gets some sort of, another card. Next, we have Greninja and Zoroark from Unbroken Bonds. Now, this one is probably one of my favorite from just the simple kind of normal arts for the tag team. I love this kind of like almost clash line that's going down in the middle where it almost looks like they're having an anime duel or something. It looks like it really spiked in January and it's just been going up and down in terms of price. Right now it is on an up period, so maybe you could wait for it to come back down because it looks like it's been doing that solidly for the, it's been ebbing and flowing for a while, but at the same time, you're not missing much by buying it at 38 versus $44. It's a $10 difference. If you want near mint, it's going to be around 61, but yeah, I think it's a very nice looking card for what it is. It looks cool. And obviously Greninja is a very popular Pokemon. Next we have Celebi and Venusaur. Celebi's looking a little sassy here, grabbing the vine. Not my favorite art personally, but again, if you're gonna buy it, I think now is a good time. The prices are consolidating. If any kind of big move happens, you're getting in before that happens right now. So definitely pick that up if you're interested. Next, we have a Reshiram and Charizard. Now, this is one of my absolute favorite, just basic tag team cards. I think this card looks absolutely amazing in person. And in fact, I found a copy that was gradable at a local card show recently. It was a Japanese version though, and it was only like $15. I had to pick it up. It looks so awesome. The blue, flames with the red flames. It almost reminded me a bit of Avatar: The Last Airbender with like Zuko and Azula. I know it's a random reference, but yeah, I think this card looks absolutely amazing, and I think people are kind of catching on to it. It's been steadily rising for a while now. It looks like it had a bit of a buyout around the May period, but not many eyes on it right now. I still think, though, if you're interested in the card, I would pick it up now before it really starts jumping up in price. And again, guys, all these tag teams, they need to be ripped at this point for any new supply to come out, and Unbroken Bonds is not a set that's getting any cheaper. Next, we have Blastoise and Piplup from Cosmic Eclipse. This is one of my favorite normal arts. I really think the tag team era did an amazing job of featuring two different Pokemon kind of working together in a really fun and dynamic way. This one is just an absolute banger of the Pokemon that they chose. Blastoise, obviously a Gen 1 starter, very, very, loved. Piplup is one of the best starter designs we've gotten in a long time. He has a really funny attitude. Very, very cute Pokemon. I don't think you can go wrong with this card at all. It's very, very lovable. Next, we have Gardevoir and Sylveon from Unbroken Bonds. This is a very cute card. Now, obviously, the full art of this is very, very nice, but also extremely expensive. And I think this is a good budget option if you like these Pokemon. And it's cool because, you're getting the fairy type card. I feel like that's kind of a lost type now that fairy's been moved into, I think, psychic, right? I remember when fairy first came out in X and Y, and it was super cool seeing new cards with the fairy type. Although I don't know why they made a whole type for fairy, considering there wasn't that many Pokemon that were fairy type. But in any case, it's kind of a cool, almost a relic of the past to see the fairy type here with Gardevoir and Sylveon. Very fun art as well. Next, we have Latias and Latios, and it's insane to see that this half art is almost reaching $100. This is just a regular one, right? Obviously, the Lovebirds is one of the most iconic cards ever, and I think just the fact that Team Up is getting so expensive is going to make this card more and more expensive as time goes on. It's going to be extremely hard to rip this pack, and maybe people who couldn't buy the Lovebirds are going to settle for this if they love Latias and Latios. Next, we have Celebi and Venusaur. Now, this is kind of a full art version, but it is a promo, meaning that it was pretty widely available. In fact, my brother actually has a copy of this card. It looks really fun in person. I think this is probably my favorite version of Celebi and Venusaur, and it looks very, very solid. Yeah, pretty good card. It's been consolidating for a while, so if you're going to pick it up, I would definitely buy it now. Next, we have Umbreon and Darkrai. Personally, I think this is one of the best arts featuring both Umbreon and Darkrai. It looks really, really cool. And it is a half art, right? It's not the full art cyberpunk version that we'll see later on, but Darkrai is one of my favorite Pokemon. Umbreon is one of my favorite Pokemon. So I think when I see this next time, I'm probably going to try picking it up. Again, it's from Unified Minds, which is not getting any cheaper. Next, you have Slowpoke and Psyduck. I'm actually surprised that this is so expensive for what it is, but I think Slowpoke and Psyduck are both Gen 1 Pokemon. They're kind of the, the fools of the Pokemon universe almost, and they've been steadily rising. I mean, I'm not seeing any consolidation periods here. It looks like it's just been going straight up, and I think the best time to buy it will be at literally any point before it goes up any further. Clearly, people like this duo a lot, so pick it up before it gets too expensive. Next, we have Pheromosa and Buzzwole GX, which is this is the alternate full art. We're starting to get into the realm where the alternate full arts, we're seeing the price here. Now, this is really only expensive because it's harder to pull. I don't think a lot of people are super into the Ultra Beasts. that came out in Gen 7. Although I do like Buzzwole a lot. I think he's really funny. I don't think a lot of people actually care too much for Pheromosa or Buzzwole. You're kind of a niche collector if you're into these. But definitely pick it up if you enjoy it. It's an interesting card nonetheless. Next we have a Lucario and Melmetal promo. Now this one I think looks way better than the other Lucario and Melmetal card. Although, again, not the most popular Pokemon. I like the stance Lucario is in, and I really like Lucario as a Pokemon, but not a huge fan of Melmetal. Next, we have Mewtwo and Mew from Unified Minds. And this is just a regular one. Obviously, the very cool, interesting one, alternate art is a promo. So this is the one that you can pull from Unified Minds, and it's a very, very iconic duo, Mewtwo and Mew. I almost wish they made the, promo that one you could pull, but that would make it insanely expensive, right? So this card, I think, makes sense. It's almost like a proxy for that other one, and it looks very cool. They're kind of, I think, breaking a test tube or something, or like water is flying out. I'm not sure what entirely is going on here, but it's a cool looking card. Found out, only $100 in comparison to the other one. I think it looks pretty solid. Next, you have Magikarp and Wailord GX. This one is one of my favorite. I mean, this is just what whales do in real life, right? They suck in a bunch of water and eat whatever comes in. I'm not really sure how these guys are teaming up. In fact, it looks like Magikarp is getting the short end of the stick here, but it's pretty funny, pretty solid. And yeah, it's a good alternative to the more expensive one. Next, we have Charizard and Braixen as a promo. Now, this one is really, really fun. I love the magical kind of sparkles that are going around Braixen, and Charizard in the background is flying around. If you don't know, Braixen is a very popular Pokemon, especially in Japan. I think they actually have Braixen is like a playable character in Pokken, which is the fighting game for Pokemon. So clearly, there's a lot of appeal to this character. Looks like it's been having a bit of a downturn, all the way down to around 80 to 90 bucks. TCG players saying 150 for a near mint. But the graph begs to differ. It looks like around $90. And I've been to a card show and I've seen this one in person. It looks really, really good. So if you want to buy it, I would probably pick it up now after it's seen this big kind of correction. Next, we have the Reshiram and Zekrom EX from Cosmic Eclipse. This is just a regular one. I think this looks really fantastic. Love the way that N is kind of just perched on Zekrom and Reshiram's in the background. Very, very cool card. And a good proxy for the more expensive one. It's having a bit of a consolidation period right now. Obviously, a better time to pick it up would have been a few months ago, but I think if you want it, you probably need to pick it up soon, because Cosmic Eclipse is not going to stop growing anytime soon. Next, we have a Muck and a Alolan Muck. This is the full art. I think this looks all right. Personally, not my favorite, and clearly the sales volume is very low on this. It has been steadily increasing though, so if you want it, probably a good time to buy in now. But again, not the best art. It's okay. Next, we have Naganadel and Guzzlord, and this actually, I like this card. I think it looks very, very cool. But again, Ultra Beasts are not very popular, and clearly you can see the sales volume, reflects that a lot. Although the art looks really cool, fortunately these Pokemon just aren't that big. They aren't that known, and yeah, I don't think this is a good one to invest in, but if you like the card, definitely go for it. Next, we have Garchomp and Giratina. Now, this one I didn't even know existed until I was making this video. And in fact, I think I'm probably going to pick up a copy of this card before I release the video because I don't want the price to increase any further. This card looks absolutely stunning. I have never seen this in real life, but it looks like Giratina is almost opening like a portal from the Distortion world to meet Garchomp. It looks absolutely insane. Probably one of my favorite tag team arts that I've seen in a while, and it's just been steadily increasing in value. Looks like it had a bit of a consolidation period a while ago. Now it's climbing back up in price. We'll see what happens. But personally, I'm going to be picking one of these up just because I like how it looks. My only gripe is that there's like 3 attacks and it takes up more than half of the card. I almost wish I could just see more of the art and less of the text. Next, we have Rowlet and Alolan Executor. This is a really, really funny card. If you can't tell, Rowlet is just kind of chilling on Executor's neck right there. He's very tiny. I think this is a pretty iconic Pokemon, but obviously it's not the most popular duo, so you can see sales volume is pretty low, although it is steadily climbing. Pretty interesting card. Next, we have these stained glass birds. Now, these notoriously got bought out, absolutely spiked to an insane value, and then dipped back down again. Although I will say the demand for this card is still natural. I still see people at card shows vendors telling me like, oh, I can't keep my hands on this card. It just every time I get it in, it goes out immediately. People love this card. I mean, it looks really, really solid in real life. And of course, it is a promo that comes in a Hidden Fates ETB. And a few months ago, I picked up a Hidden Fates ETB just because I felt like this promo was really carrying it to new heights. And Hidden Fates as a set is very solid, right? Um, and so the fact that Hidden Fates ETBs are now like upwards of $400, $500, being able to crack them open and get new copies of the card is going to be extremely hard. Although a lot of these are out there in the market. Like these are very readily available because Hidden Fates was printed so much that ETB was just printed everywhere. But because of that, a lot of players and people from other countries actually flock to the US market and want to buy the American version because there's so many of it exists. Because in Japanese, you actually have to pull this card. It's a pullable one, which means that there's just a lot less of them out there. Well, in English, we got this very abundantly, right? So I think Japanese people, Chinese people, they like collecting this card as well. And I think the international market is going to enjoy the stained glass trio, for long after 5 to 10 years in the future. And so I think buying into this card might not be a bad idea, or even better, buying into a Hidden Fates ETB that contains the card. These are very easily gradable as a 10. I think the pop report is insane. There's so many of these in a 10, but there's a big premium on it, so still kind of worth grading. But yeah, interesting to see. It's had a price correction, but it is kind of still steadily climbing up, and you can tell like the price was already climbing. Like this big jump in the market, you can tell it didn't actually affect the natural price growth that much. Like yes, it bumped up the price a ton in a short period of time, but it immediately crashed back down because when this kind of unnatural spike happens, people notice it. They're gonna take profits. And that's going to drive the price back down to a normal state, and then the market corrects itself. When the market is super big, like the Pokemon market, it's not susceptible to huge market manipulations over the long term. In my head, I know people complain about market manipulation a lot, and it does certainly happen, but typically the market will correct itself given enough time. Next, we have the Eevee and Snorlax promo. This one is really fun. Actually done by Komiya, if you don't know, one of the best TCG artists. He also did the Drowsy from SV Base, which fortunately got pumped and dumped, but I think this is a pretty solid card. Looks like it had a huge buyout in March, had a consolidation period, and is now just kind of naturally going up in price. I think it's a very solid art. I think if you're into this kind of art style, you're into Eevee and Snorlax, it's not a bad pickup. Next, we have Espeon and Deoxys. Now, this is seeing a new resurgence in popularity. Obviously, it jumped a ton back in kind of January to March. It had a big consolidation period for a few months and is now on the rise again. $180 in a near mint copy. I mean, this is a promo, so this was everywhere back in the day. But getting this now at a good condition is just going to be harder and harder, as time goes on. And I think this looks absolutely stunning. I love Espeon and Deoxys, really good duo. And I think I don't know, maybe you should wait for a consolidation period for prices to come down, but at the same time, we have no idea how much higher the prices of this are going to go. This is not an easy card to find anymore. I think at this point, the prices are starting to get to a point where you need to start thinking critically for yourself. Is it a good time to buy right now? Or do I wait? Do I hold on? Typically with these kind of stuff, there's not much new supply entering the market, so whatever is already out there is just being circulated from person to person. And what we're kind of seeing is that people are buying these cards and they're putting them in their PC. Now, will there come a time where there's a big downturn and everyone wants to sell everything that they have? Yes. And in that case, then it would be a good time to pick this card up. But we have no idea when that's going to happen, if that's going to happen, and how much that would even drop the price. Right? So you have to take all of that into consideration and make your own decisions here. Next, you have the Reshiram and Charizard GX. This is a promo. I think this looks absolutely stunning. I love the art style that's going on here with Charizard looming in the background and Reshiram. And it looks like it's been consolidating for a while. So if you're going to pick it up, I think now is not a bad time. Very, very solid promo. And of course, Charizard is a very popular Pokemon. Next, we have the Umbreon and Darkrai GX. This is an absolutely insane card. I remember picking this up in a PSA 9, I think, a long time ago, back when it was pretty cheap still. And I remember selling it around March because it had pumped a ton, but it looks like it's pumping again right now. I think we're going to be entering a consolidation period soon, though. As you can see, prices are starting to lower a bit because it had another leg up. But this is a very, very cool art. I mean, Darkrai and Umbreon, obviously two very popular Pokemon. Very cool kind of, cyberpunk background. Absolutely love how this card looks. And I think it's a solid buy. It's a solid hold. I think it will do really well in the future. But again, it is getting expensive. It is getting expensive. Next we have Pikachu and Zekrom EX. I think this is the best version of the card, but unfortunately, the most expensive version of this card. Like, I mean, it makes sense, right? This is a promo that comes in a box, and Pikachu is like flying on a Zekrom that looks really mean and angry. A really, really good card. Looks like it's pumping up again recently. And I don't know how many more times the market is going to do this. It looks like we had, from 1 January to March consolidation, and then one more is happening right now from like September-ish, August and September-ish. I'm kind of curious if we see another, kind of stagnant period from October to November, and then a big jump up in December when the holiday season runs around and people are back into Pokemon, back into buying gifts for their loved ones, maxing out their credit cards, etc. We'll see what happens. I'm kind of curious. Next, now this is surprising to me. Marshadow and Machamp is all the way up here, although this is the one you have to pull, I think, from Unbroken Bonds. So it is pretty hard to get. It's not really a promo. It does look nice, cool little sunset there in the background. Obviously a pretty rare card. It looks good. If you're into these two Pokemon, I don't think it's a bad buy, but I would be just a little scared of the liquidity of this because Marshadow is not the most popular Pokemon. Machamp is a Gen 1 Mon, but it's just not, I don't know. It's not the best card that I would be putting a ton of money into, and this kind of goes for the next one too, which is the Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff. As cute as this art is, I love the way that Jigglypuff is just kind of being squished. Very, very cute, but again, these aren't the most popular Pokemon. Mega Lopunny isn't a very popular Mega Evolution, and while the art style looks very, very fun, it's a very cute card. This is kind of one I would be scared of liquidating if you needed the cash later on, just because it's not the most popular Pokemon. Next, we have Slowpoke and Psyduck. Personally, I think I actually like the other art a bit better. This one looks funny. You got Psyduck with the Shelter tail on it, which is a little goofy. I'm not a huge fan of the art style, though. Very much like a children's drawing, but not in a fun way like the Bull Mew. Not a huge fan of this art, but hey, if that's what floats your boat, you're a big fan of Psyduck and Slowpoke, and you want the best version possible, the most rare version, then you should probably go for this one. Next, we have Gengar and Mimikyu from Team Up. Now, this is just the normal one from Team Up, but I still think this is a little underrated. I think this art is actually personally better than the other Gengar and Mimikyu that you can pull from Team Up, the alternate art. I think this looks absolutely amazing. The hollow texture on Gengar's eyes, if you see this in person, looks really, really good. And I do want to secure one of this for myself. Mimikyu is one of my favorite Pokemon. So is Gengar. I think a lot of people can agree these are two very, very popular Pokemon, and it's just been steadily climbing since December. It looks like we're entering a bit of a consolidation period from July to September, so if you're going to pick it up, I think you should pick it up soon, but at the same time, it's tough because this one's a little easier to pull, right, from Team Up compared to some of the other cards, so the amount, obviously Team Up is not getting ripped that much. It's an extremely expensive set to open. But if you're going to pull anything from Team Up, this has a higher chance of getting pulled, right? But in any case, I still think it's a good card, and it'll probably do amazingly in the future. We'll see, though. Next, you have the Greninja Zoroark alternate full art from Unbroken Bonds. This is a really, really solid card. I love how this looks. I think in Japanese, it's pretty cheap as well. I've seen the prices of those. But not the best liquidity. It's a more chill vibe, they're just kind of like sitting on a tree, chilling with each other. And for what it is, it's kind of extremely expensive for a card like this where there's not much action going on. So I would probably avoid this, but if you're a really big fan of Greninja and Zoroark, you just want the card yourself, obviously, that's all you. Next we have Raichu and Alolan Raichu. Now this card is really fun. I love how this looks. Obviously not the most liquid card, Alolan Raichu isn't one that people know a lot about, but I still think Raichu is a very popular Pokemon, and I love the art style, the fun kind of playfulness that's going on here. I think it's a solid card from Unified Minds. Next, we have the Mewtwo and Mew from a promo. I think this was from a tin. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but this has just been steadily rising for a while. Insane. If you bought it back in November for $50 and you just held on till now, great pickup. In a 10, I think this is like over $2,000 or something. It's going absolutely crazy right now, but it's such a solid artwork that I can't even blame anyone. Mew just kind of chattering in the background while Mewtwo looks super mad. It almost reminds you of the first Pokemon movie where there's almost a scene just like this, which is really fun. And yeah, it's no question why this card is so interesting, and a lot of people love it. Mewtwo is a very popular Pokemon. Mew is a very popular Pokemon, and yeah, just makes sense. Good promo. Next, we have Mega Sableye Tyranitar, which is the alternate full art from Unified Mind, so you have to actually pull this. And for how expensive it is, I'm not a huge fan of the art, although I love the way that like the rocks are kind of glowing and Mega Sableye is just chomping down on it. Tyranitar also looks like he's having a fun time eating some rocks. Um, it's a good card, but I think for the price, I would probably be picking up some other alternate arts personally. Next, you have Blastoise and Piplup from Cosmic Eclipse. This one is so cute. Love that Blastoise and Piplup are making bubbles together. They're just kind of chilling on the shoulder. Very solid pickup. Looks like they've just been steadily rising for a while. Not the biggest sales volume though, so it might be a little difficult to sell in a downturn. But again, I think it's a pretty solid card. Next, you have Solgaleo Lunala GX full art. Now, again, Sun and Moon is not the most popular series of games, so you can see just the liquidity of it is not amazing, but it is entering a consolidation period right now, so we're going to pick it up. Now might not be the worst time, and I've seen this card in person. It looks absolutely stunning. Really, really solid artwork. Again, wish we had Nebby somewhere kind of represented, although I guess maybe Nebby evolved into Solgaleo or Lunala. I guess that's the implication, but I don't know. I still think it would be fun to have that kind of callback to the games. I think this card is going to do really well. Like, imagine when we get a Sun and Moon remake, after we get Legends, Sun and Moon thing or something, right? We could definitely see this card grow again, although that's in the far future if you're looking to hold. Still think it's pretty solid though. And the reason I say that is because, this Reshiram and Zekrom card went absolutely berserk when we, heard about the black and white set that recently came out in Scarlet and Violet, right? It just absolutely went crazy in terms of price, and rightfully so. It's a very fun looking card, and yeah, it's still doing pretty well. Although maybe now's not the best time to buy into it. Although we could be seeing a black and white video game remake. I think we kind of already did a black and white, set recently, so I don't really see this pumping up too much more. And at some point, you kind of have to ask yourself, especially with the really, really expensive cards, what is the cap on the price for this? At what point are people going to just stop thinking this card is worth the price? Are they going to end up remaking some of these cards, right? Like Reshiram, Zekrom, and N will probably be featured on some card in the future. Will that increase the price of this card, or is that going to decrease the price of this card because people see a cheaper alternative in the future? I have no idea. But I think this is still a pretty solid card. And obviously, you can see Cosmic Eclipse is just appearing over and over again. So clearly, Cosmic Eclipse is one of the best sets if you are going to invest into a Sun and Moon set. And I'm shilling that because I recently just bought an art set of Cosmic Eclipse booster packs to keep sealed because I love this set. I think it looks very, very cool. And I want to collect more Sun and Moon, kind of sealed product, but obviously it's getting very expensive. So we'll see how that goes. Next, we have ADP. Now, this statue is absolutely gorgeous. One of my favorite tag team arts. I think for a lot of people, this is their personal favorites. It's seen some absolutely insane growth. I mean, it was always a pretty expensive card, but now it is reaching a realm above other things that's just kind of insane. $550 for a Nearmont Hollow Foil. Looks like if you wanted to buy it, around $450, pretty solidly. Although again, I'm curious what you guys think about Chinese cards, because it looks like the Chinese version of these cards are very, very inexpensive still. $650. This looks like a PSA 10 contender from what I'm just seeing in the picture. I mean, there's a white dot there, so maybe not, but still. Like, that's a very good condition, right, for a card that old. So it's interesting to see. Perhaps buying the Japanese or Chinese version of these cards could be a good proxy, or a good way of just getting the art without paying huge amounts of dollars. And if enough people kind of go that route, or if the Chinese market starts to really blow up and wants to get some of these older cards, they could do pretty well. Curious what you guys think about that. Let me know down in the comments below. But let's keep going to Gardevoir and Sylveon. Now, this art is absolutely stunning, and the price on this has just been increasing at an insane amount. I believe the PSA 10 version of this is like 1,000, something dollars. It's super expensive, really, really hard to get. And I'm happy to say that I actually sent out my brother's Japanese version of this card that he pulled, a while ago, and we sent it for grading, and he ended up getting a PSA 10. It's now his most expensive card at like $1,000, which is absolutely insane. Very, very happy for him. But yeah, this Gardevoir Sylveon is such a cool looking card. Very, very cute. And again, that fairy type is kind of a cool kind of throwback to when the fairy type was introduced, and it's not showing any signs of stopping. At this point, though, we're getting to the price point where you're going to buy it if you have the money and if you really want it. This is not for just the casual kind of player. At this point, you are a true collector if you're going to buy into this. And again, Unbroken Bonds, I would say, is probably one of the top Sun and Moon sets. Clearly, we're seeing a lot of the cards from that set here as well. Now we get into the Magikarp and Wailord. Now, this has just increased at a price that I never foresaw coming. I mean, I knew Magikarp was a kind of popular Pokemon, and I believe in a 10, this card is absolutely insanely expensive, but it's a very fun card, so I kind of understand that. But yeah, Nearman Holofoils, I mean, we're talking over $1,000 at this point. And obviously Team Up, one of the best sets from the Sun and Moon era, getting insanely expensive. And we're going to see a common trend with the sets that we're seeing soon. Obviously, with the next card, we're going to be seeing the Gengar and Mimikyu alternate full art. Now, this card has just exploded in recent times. I mean, we're talking Nearman Holofoil. Some people are selling for $1,200. I believe the PSA 10 copy of this card is like upwards of $2,000 or something like that. I haven't checked recently, but I mean, this is absolutely insane. Now, I do like the art. I think it looks pretty cool. Gengar is looking very sinister there, but I actually think I prefer the other Gengar and Mimikyu tag team for what it is. I think the holofoil texture on that looks more interesting. There's more artwork that goes on that I enjoy, but obviously this is the harder one to pull, so it makes sense that it is extremely expensive. And again, Team Up, really, really solid. And of course, the number one expensive card is going to be the Latios Lovebirds. This card, even super beat up, is extremely expensive now. And if you didn't know, when the set first came out, Latios and Latias, this card, the alternate full art, was not that expensive initially. In fact, people were not, paying too much for this when it was first coming out. And Team Up as a set was also just kind of short printed in general, meaning that these cards were not only hard to pull, but also there's just not many of them, that exist out there. However, I will say there is a very unique buying opportunity with this card, even if you don't have over $2,000 to drop on this card, and that is a Chinese version. Now this one is much more expensive than stuff that I've seen on eBay. I think there's probably better copies you could pick up on eBay, but I've seen like Chinese versions of this card go for around $600 to $700, which obviously still extremely expensive, but might not be a bad buying opportunity. And in fact, I actually brought this up in another one of my videos where you could buy the boxes right now where the Latios and Lovebird come from in Chinese for less than $200. That's right. You can basically get in to the Team Up set, buy into the Team Up set in Chinese right now for less than $200, which is absolutely insane. Go check out my Chinese video if you haven't seen that yet, and other sets that you could be picking up that have these kind of exclusive Chinese cards, because obviously as this gets insanely expensive, people are going to gravitate to other languages because they still want to own the card. And obviously the Chinese market itself is kind of blooming right now, right? It's starting to grow. And as time goes on, I have no doubt that Chinese kids are going to want to collect some of these older cards when they grow up. Latios and Latias is a very popular duo of Pokemon. This card is super iconic. It looks super, super stunning in person. And yeah, that's all I have to say about the tag team era, guys. I think this is one of the best eras that Pokemon ever did. Very underappreciated when it first came out, but now that we're looking back on it, people really, really love the era, and rightfully so. Let me know, are you guys going to buy any of the cards that I mentioned here? I think I'm going to pick up that Garchomp and Giratina. That looks really, really fun to me. But let me know in the comments below if you're going to pick up any of these up. Make sure to watch that Chinese Pokemon video. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.